Okay, this has gone a little too far on pretty much both sides that I really want to make sure that this video is made. Let's talk about it extensively because, well, someone who were reporting on PizzaGate just got death threats by the anti-PizzaGaters, if you would call it that. And unlike James Elephantis, who have never given any sorts of proofs of whether or not he has been sent death threats, here are the death threats.
On that very happy note, I want to tell you that my life has been threatened over this PizzaGate coverage. Here's the email. Though I am nowhere near the only one to be threatened by this, what seems to be a concerted effort to silence us all, we've got Reality Calls and David Seaman. They've received threats. And, I mean, I was next on the list. So here's the threat. Here are these people's tactics. Nowhere near the only email I've received, but this is the one that has directly threatened my life. Essentially, what these people want us to do is to apologize for ever speaking out on PizzaGate and to say that we were spreading lies.
I think my position is blatantly very pro-PizzaGator, but just so that I can make this 100% clear, I don't 100% believe in PizzaGate. Lots of elements in PizzaGate and some people inside PizzaGate are, in my honest opinion, a little bit paranoid. Once I decided to go into a random PizzaGate video and play a little bit of a devil's advocate. Here's what I argued. The problem that I always have with PizzaGate is that they're all circumstantial evidences. None of these are actually direct evidences that points directly to the fact that there's actually a pedo ring. As someone who is browsing through the PizzaGate vote, thankfully people have restrained on making that point and instead focused more on investigation and finding coincidences. Yes, there are tons and tons of these circumstantial evidences, but none of them are direct. PizzaGate needs better evidences to actually make a convincing argument, and so far, none of them are direct. I do find Twitter banning people who expose 20,000 accounts for child porn suspicious though. Also, Reddit banning PizzaGate for witch hunts but leaving SRS doing the same thing. That's just me adding a little bit of a healthy skepticism. I don't want people to conflate direct evidence with circumstantial evidence because that's what people on both sides tend to argue. They are both very important in cases. In fact, fingerprints are circumstantial evidences. Just because there's a DNA evidence of the police on the killer's knife doesn't mean that the police is the killer. And yes, you can find tons and tons of circumstantial evidences like these around the web on PizzaGate, and you can interpret these evidences into Comet Ping Pong having a pedo ring, but not a direct one, which most people are actually looking for. And what do you know? Just for me giving a little bit of skepticism to this entire thing, people charged at me. I mean, charged at me. It is glorious. I love this comment. Circumstantial? Please, wake up! Wake up! Wake me up inside! That's right. Me adding skepticism to this entire thing is making conspiracy nutjobs go, wake up! There is something going on in there! Wake me up inside! Guys, like I said, I never 100% believed in PizzaGate, and to be perfectly honest, so should you. You should be very, very skeptical to this entire thing. And I learned my mistake hard. But there are elements that made me to think twice. Like, oh, snap. The like is way too much. So I'm gonna make bullet points instead. First off, Twitter suspending an account exposing 20,000 accounts linked to child porn. Reddit nuking PizzaGate subreddit because witch hunting, even though SRS have been proven and documented to threatening doxes. Witch hunts, and actual doxes like Aaron Gajodi, Boogie2988, John Tron, Alden Baldwin, Milo, and Sean Het, the CEO got caught editing people's comments. German Santa got banned from speaking against child marriage. Why? Because child marriage is pretty much legal in Germany. So many articles on pedophile rings being discovered, one that includes a raid committed thanks to Anthony Weiner's hard drive. And none of those are from what's inside the PizzaGate conspiracy. They're all outside of PizzaGate that are closely related to in some ways or the other. People getting banned from discussions for bullcrap reasons and pedo rings happening with the elites are enough to add skepticism to this entire thing. Oh, I forgot. How about the mainstream media trying to normalize pedophilia? Salon, New York Times, CBC, Salon again. It's almost like the entire elite class are trying to make sure that pedophilia is a part of the LGBTQIA+.
Principals always look like lesbians.
Now I'm gonna say this to PizzaGate, and this is my biggest criticism. The evidences that PizzaGate have are at this moment are nothing but circumstantial evidences. Convincing circumstantial evidences, certainly, but still circumstantial. Thanks to the circumstantial nature of PizzaGate, innocent people buy it, including my past self. Then that, in my honest opinion, is dangerous. We need some form of counter-narrative. It turns out that debunking PizzaGate is actually very easy. Like my knife example, since all of these are circumstantial evidences, all you need is to take one or two or more evidences and interpret it in an innocuous way. For example, and believe me, this one is impactful. Heavy breathing. One of Comet Ping Pong's partners. I'm gonna link you guys to heavy breathing in the comment description down below, because showing it in this video would get me a strike for inappropriate content. The link is in the description. It's called heavy breathing. There's a link in the description. It's called heavy breathing. Have you opened a page on a new tab? Good. Now look at that. Seriously. Look at that. That is some good looking art, don't you think? Very good looking art. Now, close the tab. Back to the video. You're here? Good. That's what I call a circumstantial evidence. It suggests something, but doesn't prove it. Is it invalid? No. Read this. But it's unable to prove anything. Just because the band is some weird art involving children doesn't mean that the Podesta brothers are involved in some form of pedo ring. Can it actually mean that they do? Well, yes. But it can also mean that they don't. Which is why it's called circumstantial. Just because a pedophile has 10,000 pictures of lollies doesn't make you collecting pictures of lollies a pedo, right? Just because a mass shooter plays tons and tons of Doom doesn't make me who play tons and tons of Doom a mass shooter, right? Circumstantial evidences. They suggest something, but they prove nothing. The best evidences that PizzaGate have are circumstantial at best and can be interpreted in multiple ways. You can have thousands and thousands and thousands of them, and I'm sure PizzaGate does. But the direct evidence is necessary to completely verify this entire thing. So again, we're gonna need direct evidences. Have fun collecting and compiling all the circumstantial evidences. And just to make this clear, I'm not saying this to discredit the possibility that there's a pedo ring in the higher elites. I've shown that it is possible. I'm saying this because you guys need better evidence. That's all. I'm not defending pedophiles. I want to make sure that people don't get paranoid. But we're talking to Kenji wannabes here, so all they do is get paranoid. Now, like I've shown to you previously, it's relatively easy to debunk PizzaGate because at this very moment, the status of PizzaGate is not true, not false, unverified. As you can see, this video is way too long, so I'm gonna split it in sections with convenient ad placements to mark it up, or just go to the description for the mark time of which part you're interested in. So my question is, how does the mainstream media and professional debunkers debunk PizzaGate? Are you interested? Let's find out. Yes, I know I just recently showed that New York Times hosted an article excusing pedophilia, but this is from New York Times, a big publication, and PizzaGate consists of nothing but circumstantial evidences. That's the weak point. That's what I want New York Times to tackle. I want New York Times to just destroy, obliterate the living hell out of PizzaGate. We're beginning with a harassment narrative. So basically, the first 3 paragraphs of this article just goes on in how the owner James Elephant is receiving death threats through Facebook and Twitter. It then went on to just distort the entire premise of PizzaGate. Comet Ping Pong was the home base of a child abuse ring led by Hillary Clinton and her campaign chief, John Podesta. Okay, I've been through Vote, I've been through the PizzaGate bandwagon, and I can safely say to everybody here that the focus on PizzaGate has never been on Hillary Clinton. It has always been on the Podesta brothers. They just tie it some way to Hillary Clinton, but she's not the main focus. Podesta brothers are the main focus here. New York Times then mentioned an article titled PizzaGate, How 4chan Uncovered the Sick World of Washington Occult's Elite. This is basically the PizzaGate article being covered by a site called The Vigilant Citizen. However, New York Times didn't link the article to it because they don't want people to check their sources for themselves to judge whether or not these allegations actually have merits. The original article is removed, but here's the article in its full archived glory. The New York Times didn't cite this archived version because, well, the Vigilant Citizen's article is basically PizzaGate condensed in one article. The article then went on to say that none of these things are true, even though not only you didn't cite the source of where these fake news are coming from, but you also didn't show me why it's not true. Instead, the article resorts in Mr. Alephantis' own words. From this insane fabricated conspiracy theory, we've come under assault. I've done nothing for days but try to clean up and protect my staff and friends from being terrorized. Now here's the thing, guys. When I read through this article, something kind of stroked me. At first, I feel really bad for Mr. Alephantis for getting harassed and receiving constant assaults. Nobody deserves that. But then I thought, wait a second. This is oddly familiar. This is exactly how the mainstream media handled GamerGate. I mean, the mainstream media kept on saying that people like Zoe Quinn and Brianna Wu and Anita Sarkeesian got threatened and abused by mean words on the internet, and there are witch hunts being done to them. Not saying that there aren't any, but none. I mean, none of these people are entirely innocent. And after doing a little bit of time on the GamerGate autoblocker, only 0.65% of them are actual harassers. The people who are tasked on finding harassment towards Anita Sarkeesian couldn't find proofs of harassment towards Anita Sarkeesian. Zoe Quinn herself is an actual harasser. GamerGate was also accused of being a witch hunt movement to drive women out of gaming when it's nothing but investigating journalistic ethics in the video game realms. So as much as I want to believe that Mr. Alephantis is being harassed and assaulted in social media, his own words are not enough evidence for me to believe him. At least give me one evidence. There are evidence of PizzaGaters being threatened with death threats, but not the opposite. Evidence, please? New York Times also have the temerity to talk about fake news when they themselves are actually saying GamerGate is a terrible movement to drive women out of gaming. If they're willing to lie about GamerGate on being a harassment movement to drive women out of gaming, there are possible chances of them lying about PizzaGate on being a harassment movement to drive PizzaGate employees to suicide or something. So far, none. None of the circumstantial evidences being brought by the PizzaGaters are being addressed. None. Not even what they're trying to argue. I mean, at least address their arguments, at least try to address what they're actually saying, at least try to cite quotes from actual PizzaGaters. Hey, this is actually what they say, and here's how it's wrong. This is actually what they say, and this is why it's wrong. Like, they just say it's not true. They just say that it's not true, and debunked, and fake, based on Mr. Alephantis' own words. Not strong enough argument, in my honest opinion. From New York Times, you'll find out that the culprit of the banning of the PizzaGate on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Reddit are none other than Mr. Alephantis himself. And it didn't work. People are still talking about this. It's basically being searched more and more worldwide. He even went on to contact the FBI and the local police. What's interesting though is I want the FBI and the local police to conduct investigations on the people harassing Mr. Alephantis because they also did that to the GamerGate harassers. But they couldn't find any evidence of harassment. Some of the threats that are being sent to Anita Sarkeesian consist of an individual saying that she will bomb her with over 9,000 bombs. So the FBI closed the case and wasted everybody's time. I want to know what happens to the harassers of PizzaGate now. Are they actual harassers or just a bunch of trolls on the internet? There are things that New York Times did though that ironically make PizzaGate even more credible, like basically confirming that Alephantis has ties with Podesta. One of the most bizarre comments that New York Times posted is, WikiLeaks has spawned several conspiracy theories that have been independently debunked. Independently debunked? Reminder that New York Times, according to WikiLeaks themselves, has connections with Hillary Clinton. This quote over here is being cited without any sorts of links or citations on these independently debunked WikiLeaks conspiracies. They just say that it's debunked because that would definitely convince people. Again, New York Times have the temerity to talk about fake news. Have you seen the nonsensical fake news that PewDiePie has to go through, which ends in him basically trolling everybody? Also, like I said in my last video, the fake news list came from a completely biased extremist and not an impartial source without any objective standards. Her account's tweets are protected for God's sake so that she can get away from criticism. New York Times then talked about the images that are on Mr. Elephantis' Instagram picture. Again, New York Times didn't link the Vigilant Citizens article for a reason. And here's how they debunked the claim. New York Times claimed that the pictures that are in Mr. Elephantis' accounts are not the pictures of his Instagram account, but are actually the pictures of the people liking the pictures. The evidence? Not even one picture. Not even one example. Not even a single link. No evidence of this entire thing. So at this moment, we have to just take his words for it. Parents who decline to talk publicly for fear of retribution have hired lawyers to get photos removed. Fear of retribution? Okay, if I were a parent of, one of the pictures on Instagram, if, for example, say this picture on Instagram that had been posted as, proof that there's a pedo ring in Comet Ping Pong, if I were a parent and I have that picture over there, I would speak out into the media and say, this picture has been used to discredit me because of PizzaGaters. That would basically destroy the entire PizzaGate narrative. And yet, we have no links, we have no evidences, we have no citations, we have no proofs of where these photos are coming from. We only get the PizzaGaters showing that this is an Instagram picture from James Elephantis' accounts. So, no evidence! Hello, where is it? Then they went on to the same harassment narrative. This time they did it to the musicians who used to perform in Comet Ping Pong. The musician here is a band, conveniently named Heavy Breathing. I think I've shown to you how messed up their art and musics are. I'm not saying that Comet Ping Pong hired pedophiles. I'm not saying that Comet Ping Pong are pedophiles. I'm saying they hired a very weird band. Comet Ping Pong then blocked their Yelp page, which is a little bizarre that people in Amy's Baking Company didn't do that in the first place. Anyway, they blocked the Yelp page and New York Times literally said, YouTube prohibits threats, harassment, and hate speech. Hate speech! Hate speech! Hate speech! Hate speech is nonsense! Who gets to decide what is and isn't hate speech? Is me saying I don't like Attack on Titan a hate speech to Attack on Titan fans? Is that illegal? What if these hate speeches are actually legitimate criticisms? To anyone who dare to even use the word hate speech, red flag. That's a big red flag, a big no-no, completely untrustworthy. New York Times also said the same thing about Reddit. Again, they banned PizzaGate for exactly the same reasons that would get SRS banned. The only problem is that SRS is very well documented in harassing people, doxing people, threatening people, and it's still running on Reddit. PizzaGate got banned because of witch hunts, but it's totally okay when SRS do the witch hunts. Isn't that right, Reddit admins? So that's how New York Times debunked the article, and I am very disappointed. It doesn't really debunk anything, to be honest. So let's get into the next one, and trust me, this one came from the professionals. This, my friend, is Snopes. Snopes is a very well-known debunker and fact-checker, and that's great for Snopes, definitely. So let's see how Snopes debunk PizzaGate, because in my last PizzaGate video, people have been sending me this article, so let's see how they debunk it. I am interested. This is written by Kim LaCapria, and she just declared the entire thing false, 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 false. I wouldn't really call it false, I would call it unverified, because both sides cannot bring in any direct evidences, but if Snopes dare to actually declare this false, I'm very sure they have direct evidences that prove that this is actually the case, that proves that PizzaGate, this entire thing is just a weird conspiracy theory. So without further ado, let's get through it. The first mistake that this writer made was that she mentioned the PizzaGate thread on the Donald, which has been deleted. She cited the original archived link into the word Comet Ping Pong instead of the word archived. That's a minor misleading mistake, but I can forgive you for that. However, the one part that I'm baffled at is this. None of this elaborate conspiracy theory was true, as the New York Times noted. It's not true because New York Times said so, and New York Times said it's not true because James Elephantis said so. This is exactly how you create a media narrative. Am I saying that what they're saying is entirely false? No. But what I'm saying here is there's not enough evidence to support the opposite argument either. So again, it should not be false, it should be unverified. And by the way, my position is that PizzaGate is not 100% real. I still have skepticisms, I still have questions and criticisms to this investigative conspiracy. However, you can't just declare it's not true based on the owner's words. That's not an argument. If you just hundreds and hundreds of harassment, at least one example, please. Now, Snopes is going to debunk the Instagram pictures, and I am pumped. Give me your best debunk, Snopes. Refresher. These are the Instagram pictures that James Alefantis had, and they're all pictures of children. Again, circumstantial evidences that look convincing at first glance, but not enough to prove that Comet Ping Pong is a freaking pedophile ring. It could be just innocent people, and this kid could have just been a troublemaker so much they taped her into the table. So many interpretations of this event. That's the key issue. That's what I want Snopes to address. That's what I want Snopes to actually argue as a counter-argument against these people who are arguing in the PizzaGaters. But it doesn't matter. What does matter is how Snopes actually debunked this. They debunked this by citing the New York Times article. That doesn't debunk anything.
You are here, and you're an idiot.
This one is a lot more interesting. Some of the photographs were apparently taken from random websites. Snopes cited a Twitter user saying that the picture being shown is as evidence of conspiracy is being taken from a random website. Now this would have been a hard-hitting argument for PizzaGate. There's only one problem though. Snopes didn't directly point out to who made the claim that this picture is evidence of conspiracy. What I'm referring to is a post from the PizzaGaters saying, "Oh my god, this kid is from Comet Ping Pong Pizza, terrible, terrible." If that exists, or at least properly cited, I would believe you. However, neither Snopes nor the Twitter user directly referred to the original post that made this claim. Sure, the scattered evidences are on the archived version of the Donald subreddit, but which one? There's so many of them. I mean, at least in the next part, you cited the original claims, but you didn't do it on this one for some reason. At least pinpoint directly to the original claim. You're basically shooting your gun at nobody. Here's also Snopes arguing based on emotions instead of hard evidence. Photos have been lifted from his personal social media accounts and his employees, all based on his word without giving at least one or two examples. This is because Snopes cited New York Times as a convincing argument. That's neither an argument nor an evidence. The next segment is the pedophile symbols. Now, I'm gonna love this. Destroy this, Snopes. I know you can do this. You're trustworthy after all. Refresher, the pedophile symbols came from the leaked unclassified documents from the FBI. Look at this connection right over here. I'm gonna let it speak for itself. Here's an enormous refrigerator under Comet Ping Pong with Alefantis saying, "This looks fun," and then also someone saying, #killroom. Here's also a picture of showing the connections and connecting the dots. As you can see, very conspiratorial and tinfoil. The one thing that I noticed is how close the two stores that have the pedophile symbols are. That and Terrasol has been visited by Hillary Clinton. That's the argument and the circumstantial evidences from the PizzaGaters. How can Snopes respond to this? As we have noted in the past, fear of pedophile code imagery is occasionally the basis for panic, but law enforcement officials believed that the symbols themselves are used among adults to signal preferences, not as labels for children, not as markers placing them in any danger. By citing into another Snopes article written by the same writer that debunks the claim that a bunch of bags being sold at a local event souvenir has pedophile symbols that pose threats to children. So what Snopes is saying here is the symbols can be interpreted as a pedophile code, but it can also be used innocuously. That is a good point. However, Snopes missed a couple of points that are not being addressed. Ever since PizzaGate, Besta Pizza changed the logo from this into this. My assumption is that the logo is changed to avoid backlash, but would be nice if you address that one. Also, the Snopes article that you cited concerns one logo from one toy. One quote-unquote pedo symbol from a toy? Yes, it is innocuous. It just coincidental, accidental. Two pedo symbols in two restaurants at very close proximity towards each other, plus one more pedo symbol in the menu. That's way too much of a coincidence, don't you think? Snopes then cited a post from Washington City paper. I'm gonna highlight one paragraph that interests me. The WikiLeaks release of Clinton campaign chair John Podesta's hacked emails inspired a feverish and mostly hapless search for a salacious scandal evidence, while PolitiFact calls the evidence for a Clinton sex network ridiculously thin. PolitiFact. PolitiFact. In the description down below, I have an image gallery displaying PolitiFact's absolute bias. Here's a comparison between the number of truths that Hillary Clinton said and the number of false that Donald Trump said. How about this? Bernie Sanders said almost the exact same thing as Trump, but Bernie gets the one to be marked not so much false. But Trump, no, he's wrong. He is wrong. Even though he almost said exactly the same thing as Bernie Sanders, he is wrong. And then after that, Snopes is going to debunk the weird wordings on the emails. Refresher, from Reality Calls videos. The realtor found a handkerchief. I think it has a map that seems pizza related. Do you think I'll do better playing dominoes on cheese than on pasta? Obama spent about $65,000 flying in pizza/dogs from Chicago for a private party at the White House. I will be sacrificing a chicken in the backyard to Moloch. These are all incredibly weird sentences from the WikiLeaks emails, and if they're connected with the pedo codes, yeah, it sounds disturbing. How can Snopes debunk this entire thing? By citing Washington City paper. Okay, how does Washington City paper debunk this? Why, they wonder, did Podesta have a handkerchief with a pizza-related map on it? And why did Podesta get so many emails about eating pizza? The answer to any reasonable person would be that Podesta eats pizza sometimes. Indeed, Alan Fantis says, pizza is always a big thing in politics. To the alt-right, though, pizza became a suspected code word for illegal sex trafficking. In one 2008 email released by WikiLeaks, Alefantis thanked Podesta for attending the fundraiser at the restaurant but regretted not making a pizza. That drew amateur tourists' attention to the restaurant's morals, which they declared creepy, and the sliding doors in front of the restaurant's bathrooms dubbed hidden rooms. Okay, Podesta eats pizza. I agree on that. However, there's one problem. There's one big problem. Both Snopes and Washington City paper didn't show the original emails or the original sentences that they're trying to say is pizza related. If I were Snopes, I would use this opportunity to take the weird jumbled sentences and tear it pieces to pieces bit by bit. But Snopes decided to just cite Washington City Post instead, who also didn't really debunk anything. Again, what in my honest opinion would be better to do is explain the missing context on these emails. I mean, we could be wrong. These are just circumstantial evidences and we might be taking them out of context, which is why I need someone, somewhere, please explain and address the context for these weird emails instead of sending death threats. Now, as you can see, Snopes didn't really debunk anything, PizzaGate. Well, that's basically their entire argument. They didn't address the emails, they didn't address the freaking rooms, they didn't address the Instagram pictures, they cited Washington City paper and New York Times. They didn't address anything. And the entire debunking article ends with this paragraph. And while rumors about pedophilia and child trafficking remain standard in urban folklore, roughly 90% of assaults on children in the US are committed by friend or family member, a number reiterated by United States Department of Justice. Most abuse of the nature alleged is committed by family members, family friends, or other trusted adults without the use of coded toys or pizzeria sex rings. Let's, for the sake of argument, accept the fact that all of that is true. We're not talking about 90% of children assaults committed by friends or family. We're talking government elites. And as proven time and time again in the past, the government elites, the elites, have been involved in child trafficking before. When this exists in Jimmy Savile with the BBC, this doesn't dismiss the possibility of John Podesta being in it. Keep in mind that John Podesta is the kind of person who does this bizarre spirit cooking ritual that is just satanic in so many nature. Not saying that he's a pedo for doing that, but man, this guy has some weird fascination with Satan. At least address the simple fact that elites have ties with pedophilia before, instead of using a completely unrelated fact. Oh, and going back to Snopes, Snopes is very much left-leaning and is just about as reliable as PolitiFact. It's been proven that they lie and lie and lie, and not only all of those, the writer, Kim LaCapria, responds to criticisms by being an absolute jackass and telling people to go bathe in male tears. Very trustworthy source, definitely. Oh, and to add insult to injury, do you want to know what Snopes said about GamerGate? Nothing, surprisingly. I expect GamerGate to be in there, because it's the one where everybody always get wrong. But, I really want to talk about this one most, because this sparked just recently, and oh boy, people have started to spread absolute misinformation everywhere. Remember when I connected PizzaGate and noted the similarities between the harassment narrative of that and that one for GamerGate? Well, apparently, I'm not the only one making that parallel comparison. Do you know who does that as well? Clinton News Network.
PizzaGate is nothing new. GamerGate, the revenge porn, laid the groundwork.
Guys, keep in mind that I love myself some good conspiracy. I love to put my tinfoil hat on, but you know what I love the most? People debunking tinfoil hatters. I love people debunking flat earthers, for example. I can't believe flat earthers exist. But thank God for the internet. PizzaGate is a fun conspiracy to join in. It's a fun conspiracy to talk about and bring some tinfoils at. I don't 100% believe in it, but I'm not gonna lie, I love myself some good tinfoils. However, I visited New York Times, I visited Snopes. These guys are supposed to be professional at debunking conspiracy theories. However, PizzaGate, at this moment, only has circumstantial evidences, and the professional debunkers who are supposed to be really good at debunking this have absolutely no arguments on the table. This is at the point where I have to question myself whether or not I'm wearing a tinfoil hat or my actual hat. If PizzaGate is a conspiracy theory that is proven to have been debunked, I expect people to, debunk them? I want to see both sides of the arguments, and the best people that they have at the table has no arguments to offer. I'm looking at Snopes, New York Times, then CNN came in and compared this to GamerGate. Let's just hear what they have to say.
The GamerGate movement purported to promote ethics in gaming, but was wildly condemned for the online vitriol aimed at female gamers and journalists, some of which translated into real-world threats. Revenge porn similarly relies on the internet to disseminate intimate photos of a person online and is often used to extort victims.
First paragraph, and we're already screwed. The thing is, I don't believe the witch hunts argument. I really don't believe it. PizzaGate is all for witch hunts, said Reddit. Banning PizzaGate. Still keeping SRS on the table. You know, there's also that one movement being accused of witch hunts. It's called GamerGate. And it's been 2 years. More and more evidences show that it's not about witch hunts. So when PizzaGate is all about witch hunts, where are the evidence? Reddit bans PizzaGate for witch hunting, but still lets SRS witch hunts people. How about PedoChat and PedoFriends? Come on, that's just extreme bias from the admins. I mean, you're letting people in Reddit to say things like this.
PizzaGate is an elaborate theory that top Democrats, including Hillary Clinton and John Podesta, run a child sex operation out of DC pizzeria Comet Ping Pong.
John Podesta, not Hillary Clinton. If you want to debunk a conspiracy theory, at least present their arguments correctly. Some of the things on this article just rings my alarm bells.
It's not shocking for those who have been paying attention. Targets of online harassment have little recourse in the real world. GamerGate target Brianna Wu has received hundreds of death threats, previously telling CNN Money that police just advised her to stay off technology.
Let's, for the sake of argument, accept the fact that the death threats came from GamerGate. Brianna Wu is not innocent at all. Am I saying that, therefore, James Alefantis is guilty as well? No, I'm not saying that. I'm still maintaining my position of innocent until proven guilty. I've said it many times that I don't 100% believe in PizzaGate. I don't 100% believe that there's a pedophile ring and Comet Ping Pong because there's no verifiable documents or verifiable evidences, so I'm not gonna assume guilty from James Alefantis as well, but we're gonna need better evidences to actually prove that he is not guilty. I still maintain my position of innocent until proven guilty, so I am not gonna assume guilty on James Alefantis' part or even John Podesta's part, but we need to be skeptical because both sides of the argument has presented no direct evidence at all.
According to the source, Alefantis had repeatedly reached out to the tech companies like Facebook as well as law enforcement about the threats before Sunday. So why haven't tech companies done more?
Well, you mean, why haven't tech companies do more censorship on this topic? They already did! As you said here, Reddit did it for a very hypocritical reason.
Other key platforms have stayed quiet. Facebook declined to comment, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube did not return CNN Money's request for comment.
Twitter didn't really ban PizzaGate, but they did ban an account exposing 20,000 child porn linked accounts.
According to John Phyllis Senar, a professor at UCLA and non-resident senior fellow at Brookings, it can be difficult for companies to define hate speech. Since there's not a broader societal consensus about those boundaries, it's not feasible to expect social networking companies to come up with a universally accepted answer, he said.
Hate speech. You're out, CNN, you're out. So now, let's talk about the shooting that happened in Comet Ping Pong. So just in case you don't know, there's someone by the name of Edgar Madison Welsh who came into Comet Ping Pong to, conveniently enough, according to his word, investigate PizzaGate. The thing here is, according to Washingtonian, it was Welsh's own words. However, according to Heavy, it was the police who said it. Wait, who said that Welsh is investigating for PizzaGate? Welsh or the police? I don't know, I don't get it. Thankfully, we have the charging documents right here, and yes, this document stated that he did indeed come into the place investigating for missing child ring. So to anyone who said that this is driven in some ways thanks to PizzaGate, that is true, according to the police. For now, let's find out more about the shooter. Who is Edgar Madison Welsh? It turns out that Edgar Madison Welsh has his own IMDb page, where he is a credited actor, a production assistant, a writer, and storyboard artist. Does that mean that he's just an actor being hired by the mainstream media to create a false flag? Could be, but no direct evidence for that. I'm more leaning on the notion that he is actually mental. He's also used to swerve his car into a kid. The most horrifying part, it could be a deliberate act, and he could have avoided him entirely. To shine a lot more doubt into this debacle, he is also detained for driving under the influence in 2013, which led to 60 days in jail, and also convicted in 2007 for driving and consuming alcohol while under 21. This guy is also a person who likes Alex Jones and prophesies that the world is ending. So based from all of those, I think this guy is just cuckoo in the Cocoa Puffs. This guy just came into Comet Ping Pong to identify PizzaGate. Whose fault is this exactly? Well, there are 8,525 people on vote talking about PizzaGate, so if PizzaGate is indeed to blame on this entire thing, then those 8,525 people are of course gonna be potential rioters as well. However, what I see here instead is people on vote condemning the actions of this guy and just instead focus more on investigating, archiving, and finding facts and trying to find out whether or not this entire thing is a false flag. If PizzaGate endorsed witch hunting, people on vote would go, "Oh my god, this guy is a hero," but that's not what I see. Nobody has blueprints or plans to assault Comet Ping Pong. This guy clearly just did this entire thing on his own will. It's based on PizzaGate, sure, but there are no evidences that the PizzaGaters at vote go, "Hey, let's kick some ass and chew bubble gums and throw all the gums to the garbage bin so that we can only kick ass." Are there any possibilities that this could be a false flag? It could be, but I'm still fishy, even from the arguments that the people at vote brought. I'm just seeing a guy who was a former worker in the film industry being absolutely mental. Yes, this guy came into the store because of PizzaGate, but no PizzaGaters asked him to do this. I mean, if for example, someone who is a GamerGater came into Zoe Quinn and almost shot her, are you gonna say that it's GamerGate that did it? Then the mainstream media have the temerity to talk about fake news. Where to even begin with this one? There's a good reason why the mainstream media lied about a lot of things, like for example GamerGate. If they didn't lie about GamerGate, then they have to admit to themselves that they are a bunch of corrupt dickheads. But some people went on to denial mode, like, for example, CNN. Trump, the election is not rigged. You should stop whining, oh my god, the election is rigged by the Russians! Okay, since I'm not a huge master in politics, let's just talk about fake news in pop culture, because that's what I love the most. You posted fake news of how video games cause unemployment. How about the fake news that gamers are terrible, misogynist, sexist, racist, oh my god? How about the fake news that Ghostbusters fans are a bunch of sexist, misogynist women haters? How about the fake news that James Rolfe is a misogynist, basement-dwelling nerd? How about the fake news that people who criticize the garbage writing of Dragon Age 2 are just a bunch of women haters? How about this fake news that Mario Kart is gonna be the worst-selling game in the franchise history, and then you're being proven wrong, but kept on saying that it's gonna be the worst-selling game in the franchise history, and then you're being proven wrong again, and you kept on saying that it's gonna be the worst-selling game in the franchise's history. If people can lie on simple things like video games and movies, what are the chances of them lying on more important things like the government? Seriously, think about that for a second. Also, something interesting just came to mind. A PizzaGator at Vote found out that Washingtonian made the article hours before the tragedy even happened. Sounds insane, but some users brought up the possibilities that it's just a Google time bug or just basically time zone differences. Everything is all fine and dandy. Relax, you don't have to be so paranoid about this. However, there's only one problem. When the original poster brought this to the Washingtonians' attention, instead of the Washingtonian replying that, oh, it's probably just a Google code bug, it's probably just the time zones that are being, messed up, at least those would have been plausible explanations, they blocked him. That, my friend, is a very suspicious move. So with all of that being said, what do I think about PizzaGate? PizzaGate is not 100% real, but it's not 0% real either. It still consists of nothing but circumstantial evidences after circumstantial evidences. At this very moment, it is unverified. They're convincing for the untrained eye, which is why if you go into a common PizzaGate video like the ones that Reality Calls made, the upvotes are insane. But objectively speaking, they're still circumstantial evidences and cannot directly prove that there is a pedo ring. If you want to jump into PizzaGate, or if you do believe that PizzaGate is real, I recommend you to double check the facts that you have. Keep your investigation going, don't get too paranoid, and for the love of God, don't break the law, and don't go on witch hunts. However, the people who are against PizzaGate, the mainstream media and the social media websites, they are about as equally untrustworthy, if not more, as I've shown before. The way they handled PizzaGate, the mass censorship, the poorly done debunkings, previously similar cases happening in the past, absolutely massive hypocrisy, blatant endorsements of pedophilia, and sending death threats, actual death threats that are actually verified, you're not actually making PizzaGate weaker, you're making it stronger. I don't want to arbitrarily connect the parallels between GamerGate and PizzaGate, but let me just explain to you why GamerGate grows even to this year. It's because in the battle of ideas, between the ideas that GamerGate offered and anti-GamerGate offered, the anti-GamerGate side are incapable of fighting back. When the movement started in 2014, we offered concrete arguments, circumstantial evidences, even some hard evidences. The reason why it has gotten big is because the media has no arguments to counter it. The media cannot properly debunk GamerGate and instead resorting to just labeling GamerGate as a conspiracy theory and witch hunts to drive women out of gaming. And in my honest opinion, I think the same thing can happen to PizzaGate if this continues to happen. Regardless of whether or not you believe that PizzaGate is real, the ideas that PizzaGate offered are convincing. Not necessarily true, but they're convincing. They're convincing to the untrained eye. They're convincing to my eyes in the past. And that is dangerous. If nobody, I mean nobody in this world, who are willing to speak up against PizzaGate and offer no counter-arguments to this debacle. When I say counter-arguments, I mean actual, legitimate arguments. Arguments that can persuade people. Arguments that can convince people. This PizzaGate thing, they will spread, and it will create morons, or what you perceive as morons. PizzaGate is, in my honest opinion, another battle of ideas. I've been involved in a battle of ideas. I've witnessed the battle of ideas and the consequences of it. If you want to suppress bad ideas, You need to counter it with your own. That's why I said time and time again, the best way to counter PizzaGate is to offer convincing arguments, not censor them. The reason why flat earthers lost? Because their ideas are stupid, and people highlighted why their ideas are stupid. If we censor flat earthers, that's gonna gain them credibility, because that means we don't have any counter arguments to what they're saying. Same thing can happen to PizzaGate. And I can say this as someone who jumped into the PizzaGate bandwagon and went out of it. I have experienced what it's like inside the bandwagon, and I've also experienced what it's like outside. If you genuinely think that PizzaGate is just a conspiracy theory, try to make people to think twice about the legitimacy of PizzaGate. Keyword here is try. You can say, conspiracy theory, all you want. You can dismiss their arguments in the snap of a finger and call people morons. But the big danger here is that the idea is spreading. It's spreading worldwide. And if you consider yourself a skeptic, you see a dangerous idea spreading like wildfire, your first act is to debunk it. As much as I don't like Mundane Matt's video saying that all PizzaGate videos are just clickbait titles and people who are jumping into the bandwagon are useful idiots, I at least appreciate his effort on trying to convince people that it's not real. But I do believe that he needs to do so much better than what he has to offer. I don't like his video not because he is against PizzaGate, but because his arguments are weak. He cited Snopes, for God's sake. If you think that PizzaGate is a dangerous idea and something that is fake, please move forward and engage people with discussions, because labeling people conspiracy theorists do not work. The moment you start labeling people conspiracy theorists, even to those that are relatively neutral, the moment you start dismissing every evidence without addressing why they're flawed, the moment you did not counter any of their ideas, that's the moment where PizzaGate grows, because you provided no counter arguments. You provided no convincing alternative. You have contributed on the growth of PizzaGate. Again, PizzaGate is growing. It's growing worldwide. We need better counter arguments. Bring in legitimate points. Bring in legitimate arguments and skepticisms. Convince people. Persuade people. Assuming that PizzaGate is fake news. PizzaGate's circumstantial evidences have convinced thousands. If you think that this idea is a threat, bring in your best guns, other than your cheap shots of insults and conspiracy theories, or else this idea will spread and people will become more and more convinced of it. So my advice to all of these people who thinks that PizzaGate is a bad idea, if you just think that PizzaGate is just a ridiculous, stupid conspiracy theory, well, go ahead. Go ahead and think that way. Go ahead and keep on insulting people. Go ahead and keep on bringing out they're just a bunch of tinfoil hatters. This idea has spread. It has caused millions and millions of people to actually believe it. What was that quote again? I forgot who said this. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. If you think that PizzaGate is this evil conspiracy theory that will harm everybody's mind, if you think that PizzaGate is this evil conspiracy theory that is just so stupid, I can't believe that people actually fell for this, well, you can go ahead and look outside your window. People fell for this, and if you do nothing, it will spread. It will spread like wildfire, and it's all thanks to people like you who does nothing to counter this. And that is about as hard as I can try to be very neutral. Again, my position is neutral. I'm gonna wait for the facts and any appearances of direct evidences. I addressed both arguments and I give air to both sides and criticize both of their ideas. If you think that I missed something important, let me know in the comments down below. As always, I will have my sources right in the description, just in case you want to check them out for yourself. Now that I have addressed PizzaGate, I can move on to easy targets, like, oh, I don't know, the Mary Sue. We'll get to you, don't worry about that. That's all for the video today. If you like this, you can go ahead and click the like button and subscribe for more if you wish. You can support me on Patreon, and thanks for watching.